I didn't hear anything. Did anyone else?
No, that's because I need to turn on the microphone and the camera. So now you can see video and hear audio. And I want to thank very much Padmashri, who's been helping in Illuminate where it's... So let's go ahead and get started. Lori, go ahead and say hi. This is...
Hi, this is Lori Bell. I'm really excited about this class and really happy to have the experience to teach this class with Jeremy. I think it'll be an exciting class.
So the next thing we want to do is hear a little bit about who's going to be in the session today. Lori and I are co-teaching this course, 287. So Lori and I met each other 3.5 years back when she was working on the Second Life library. And so we've been kind of bouncing around, meeting each other at conferences across the country, and we had this wonderful opportunity to co-teach this course. And I'm with San Jose State School of Library and Information Science. I've been here a couple of years now. Before that, I did distance learning, and before that, I was a product marketing manager. And before that, I designed magazines for the American Marketing Association.
I'm in central Illinois, the middle of nowhere, actually near Fort Tony in Canton, Illinois, and I work as Director of Innovation at Alliance Library System full-time, and I teach a couple courses at San Jose State as an adjunct and also the University of Illinois.
So now I want to work you guys through a quick exercise. You know the drawing tools here on the left of the screen. If you click on these tools, the little yellow pen, and place yourself, actually the little blue pen, and place yourself on this map of California or the US. So I placed myself, I clicked on the blue pen, and I clicked on the red color, and I clicked in San Jose. So go ahead and work through this map, click the little blue pen, and place yourself on this map. Let's see where everybody is. Okay, let's work through the list of folks here, and I want to ask you what your name is and what you would like to learn from the class here, just in a sentence. So let's start at the very top with Adrienne Walker.
Hi, my name is Adrienne. I live in Southern California. I don't think my little blue pen was cooperating, but I would like to learn, particularly interested in trends as they relate to Web 3.0.
Alexandra, go ahead and click on the microphone.
Oh, sorry, didn't realize I was next. My name is Alexandra Nowakowski, and I live in San Francisco. I think that I was the very last person to know what Web 2.0 was, and so I don't want that to happen to me with Web 3.0.
And Alexis?
Hi, my name is Alexis. I work at the Internet Archive, which is a digital library. And gosh, why am I interested in Web 3.0? I've been working on the Internet since 1996 in various capacities, and I don't know. I'm always interested to see what people think is coming next, and you know, get a head start on things, hopefully. So we'll see.
So next, so my name is Andrew. I live in San Jose, and I'm interested in this class mainly because I'm interested in the future of libraries. I'm starting to do my literature review for my thesis on mobile information retrieval, and hopefully I could pick up some readings or some other information from this class that will help me.
I'll go. My name's Anissa. I work at the San Francisco Public Library, and I'm interested in Web 3.0 as it applies to, the changing environment of our public libraries and how the public can catch up and those who aren't caught up can get caught up.
Let's not worry about the order, so anybody after Anissa on the list, feel free.
Hi, my name's Anne Aokuni. I'm from San Jose, and like Anissa, I work in a public library, and I'm kind of interested in finding out how we can take exciting techie things and cool new apps and reach out to hard-to-reach patron groups like teens.
Hi, I'm Caitlin, and I am in Boston, and I work in a visual resources department, and we've become a de facto digital library. So I am always looking for new ways to interact with our patrons, show them our resources, and keep them interested.
Hi, I'm Donna Frederick, and I work for the Saskatoon Public Library, and I'm that red dot that's at the top of the map there. That's me. And I'm really interested in taking this class because I've worked in libraries, thank you, a very long time, and I really wanted to learn new things and hear things that I've never heard before and see where libraries are going to.
Hey everybody, I'm Susie Quinn, and I'm actually starting an internship tomorrow at Coastline Community College, which is a completely distance learning community college. And I've always been interested in technology, like a techie geek, I guess. And I was doing web development in the advertising industry a decade or so ago, and that was when I was Web 1.0. So it's just a natural, I think, progression for me, and just getting into library services and this whole librarianship is just, I'm fascinated and just excited, really. I'm ready to, learn new things constantly and hopefully get information out there as easy as possible.
Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Sahady, and I live in Burbank, home of The Tonight Show. Well, we won't go there, really. I like everything techie, so I like to stay up on all the, Facebooks and Tweeters and all that stuff. I don't do any of it, but I like to learn it, and then I always pretty much close out my accounts.
Hi, my name is Melissa Rosales. I'm currently work for an online social network on the product development team, and I am with Coco as well. I live in Eagle Rock, and so very close to Burbank, and I'm very interested in emerging trends, whatever's trending at the moment, and how these can be integrated into whatever organization. So, and if they're useful.
Hi everyone, it's Holly here, and I am speaking from Los Angeles, and I'm interested in taking this class because I want to learn all the newest things that are going on out there and find creative and innovative ways to apply them to my library career.
Hi, my name's Heather Penna. I live in Boston, Mass, and I'm interested in taking Web 3.0 because I like taking technology to new levels at libraries and seeing what there is more to offer out there. Thanks.
I forgot to add that another reason why I'm taking this class is because before I graduate, I wanted to take a class from Jeremy and Lori, so that's why.
Hi everybody, this is Vicki Steiner here. I live in Calabasas and I work at the UCLA School of Law as a reference librarian. And I'm interested in this class because I'd like to, I'm currently involved in my library in trying to develop new ways of delivering our services to our patrons. So I'm looking forward to learning about all the latest developments on that front. And it's nice to meet everybody. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Olga and I'm located in Maine. I think I managed to color in all of New England. I was pretty inexact with my pen. I actually don't have a library science background. I was a former Infosys manager and I'm excited to gain some new perspectives from everyone in this class. And as many others, I'm interested in seeing what everyone thinks the upcoming trends are and how we can integrate that into better sharing information.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I live in Denison, Colorado. I work in an academic library. Most of our IT is handled by the college IT department, so I don't get to do any of that stuff. And our students are very tech savvy, so I'm looking to keep up and maybe even get ahead of them.
I'm going to go ahead and try again. Can everybody hear me this time? Okay, good. My name is Angela Taylor, and right now I live in Monterey, California. My husband's in the military, so I've lived all over. But I'm interested in learning about these trends just like everybody else, particularly because I want to work in special libraries or the federal system, and so I want to see how I could integrate some of these new tools into those types of libraries.
I'm Diane Matson in Salt Lake City, and I took Web 2.0 in the summer and I loved it, but I still feel like I need to become comfortable with what's out there. A couple of times I've visited my public library and they weren't really sure how to help me with this, these technologies, so I really want to get a good grasp on it.
Hi, this is James Wagner. I'm from Chico, California, and I'm just interested in the latest trends.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Chavez, and I live in Covina, just east of Los Angeles. And I want to learn about trends and just technology in the library and how we can apply it.
I think that's everyone. If anyone doesn't have a microphone that works and they'd like to give an introduction to themselves via chat, now's the time. You know, Lori and I were chatting. We've been working on this a couple months now. We've been chatting just today about what we wanted to learn from this course. And the wonderful thing for me is that I get to work with Lori. So a lot of you have been in my courses before, and I think you're here because Lori's here. So I'm curious, Lori, what do you want to learn from the course?
Jeremy, I think they're here because you're here. In fact, several of them said it. I am looking forward. You have a in-depth background in instructional design, and I'm looking forward to learning new techniques for instruction. And already, just in a couple months of working with you, I've learned a lot. You know, how to make the courses interesting over distance, how to get interactivity, and different ways of structuring things.
Well, I guess the thing I want to learn is what Lori brings to the course, and you have to get used to this kind of. We'll probably be doing this a lot in the next 15 weeks. We have a really high regard for each other. So I love that Lori was able to, like literally, we said, okay, we have slots for 6 speakers, and who are the best people in the library field. And a week later, Lori says, got that one, got that one, got that one, got that one. It's like, she tells the people, you're going to come and present. So I'm really, really proud to have the speaker that we have today, who's an amazing speaker, who, let me see if I can get this dead tangled video stuff working. I don't know if you all can see that. Designing digital experiences, our textbook, and the man who wrote this textbook is here in the room with us. Sorry to take up a lot of your time, but at least you get to hear what we're interested in learning. And Lori, do you want to give a little bit of a more respectful preview of David and talk about his work?
I am really pleased and honored to have David here. I first met David a couple years ago, I think at either an Internet Librarian conference or, yeah, it was an Internet Librarian. And I think at that time he was the webmaster at Kansas City Public Library, and I loved their site. When you're looking at library websites and trying to get ideas for your library or to see what the latest things are, Kansas City was one I just kept coming back to. Then I found David in Second Life because he went to the Topeka Shawnee County Library and became the head of I hope this is right, head of virtual services there. And their website, my boss writes, Kitty Pope writes a trends report each year with the latest trends for libraries, and that website is always at the top of her list. She's got a list of sites to watch, and Topeka Shawnee has been at the top of that list. And so we're really pleased you could come tonight, David, and you wrote the book on what we're talking about, so I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Hello, everybody. Can you guys hear me fine? Making sure? Okay, it looks like it. Cool. I'm excited to talk to a library science class, students and all that. I haven't done that for a while. Well, I haven't done much of that at all, honestly. So it's very cool to talk to people that are forced to read my book. Ha ha! Just a joke. Well, I'm going to talk about the stuff that's in my book tonight. Not because I want to talk about my book, but because I think it's a really important topic. And it fits in really well with what you guys are hoping to learn in this class this semester. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so what exactly, let's see here, make sure I know how to do this. Yes, what is experience design, or designing digital experiences? Well, simply stated, it's designing an experience. So it's not designing the content, not designing the wrapper or the website per se, but designing the experience that people are having while they're on a website or while they're visiting a website. And for us libraries and librarians, while they are visiting our digital branch, which is what I call our Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library's website. So when your visitors to your website come to your library website, they are actually experiencing something at this very minute when they go there. The question is it a good experience or a bad experience? Is it easy or hard? And do you know, the good experience designer actually plans for and builds deliberate experiences into his website rather than just hoping for the best, which is honestly what most of us do, whether we build library websites or other websites. So who wants to think about interacting with a website? Probably not many of us. Instead, what we want to do is to do our stuff, whatever we're thinking of doing. Be that checking something out or leaving a comment, etc. And it helps if we can be engaged and enchanted in the process. So let me take you through the makeover we've done at Topeka's website. Okay? So if you want to check it out, not tonight because our website's been down for most of the day, unfortunately, but go to tscpl.org in a day or two, please, not right now. And you can check out our current website. We're actually in the process of redesigning again. So if you watch this year, hopefully by December of this year, we'll have something a little different again. But so this is what we had when I started this job a little over 3 years ago. This would be the old version of our website. This website had been around for at least 4 years, and it was a fine looking website. Honestly, if you go out and look at library websites, it's one of the better ones, just in the design they had. But they took an older design and basically started tacking newer 2.0 type things on it. So by the time I got there, they had one blog, no Facebook pages yet, they had a MySpace page, no video or anything like that to speak of. And they had some interesting things I'll just go through the main page of the website and talk about it a little. Those arrows are pointing to those were ASP plugins. So the back end of the website, there were 4 or 5 different places you'd have to go to put in information, and they stick out because they look different than everything else on the site. So sort of a nasty CMS on the back side of that. Like I said, they had added some 2.0 type things. The blog was under, let's see, I can make this point, right? Yeah. The blog was under here. Over here, they had an RSS feed. After I started, we added a instant messaging widget. We added the Meebo widget to it. Basically, we were tacking on to an older system, right? Also, we had ads in the middle of the page that nobody was really clicking on, even though they were big and took up a lot of space. The catalog was in 2 different places, but it was hard to find. The top thing in the blue, you had to click through to get to the catalog. It was a click and then one of many things on a list that you had to click. And the quick catalog search below, if you look at that, if you sort of squint your eyes and look at it real fast, it disappears just because it was grayed out. That's not a good way to design something. And then of course we had real live ads down here at the bottom of the page. We have a hosted Wi-Fi network, but there's no reason we need to be advertising AT&T on our website. And then that other thing, it's a current weather conditions thing. I would say it's a holdover from the mid-90s and Gopher and that kind of stuff, where you'd go to a website or go to a Gopher site and one of the things it would tell you, even if it were a library website, was what the current weather was. Didn't really need that. And we had a font explosion. We had fonts all over the place. That's not good design either. So this is what I inherited. This is what I was faced with improving. An older, more traditional website, still really pretty good. Different parts and pieces on the back end. It was harder to embed stuff because of the way the site was coded. Things were in the wrong places. The emphasis was on the wrong stuff. And patrons had a hard time finding things. And we needed an updated design. It was high time for a design. So we needed a makeover. We needed a extreme makeover web edition, I would say. And this is what we ended up with once we started redesigning. We've had this site for almost 2 years, maybe about 1.5 years, somewhere in there now. And now we have comments everywhere, pretty much. Most of the website is now blog-based, so you can comment on each page or each post you get to. Actually, we have about 30 blogs on the site. All the normal 2.0 tools, so Facebook, MySpace, Flickr, instant messaging, text messaging, YouTube, video, Twitter, etc. This is not Drupal. This is Expression Engine at expressionengine.com. Very similar, but we paid a little bit for it, and it was easier to code on the back end. We didn't have an extreme advanced coder at that time, so this worked really well for us. We'll very possibly switch to Drupal in the next iteration of the site. So, since comments are everywhere, there are conversations on our website, which is a big goal I had. Structure, so we got rid of all those different ASP type things and have one big happy CMS on the back end, which was Expression Engine. Much easier to deal with. Comments everywhere, so this is an example of that. And this is actually some customers talking and some staff members writing back and answering those questions. So comments on our website, conversations happening in our digital space, so to speak. A list of our RSS feeds, we have quite a few. Our one blog that the old website had, it was basically a new books blog that had other stuff once in a while. We split that out into genres, so historical fiction, graphic novels, etc. And a lot of these subject guides or blogs match in our physical collection. They match what we call neighborhoods. So we've taken all the travel books, stuck them on a couple of shelves in one place rather than all over the place, and put some nice labeling on them, put a globe there, and then on the digital branch we mirror that with a travel subject guide. And we do that with all of our neighborhoods. That's our goal anyway. We have what we call outposts, and that would be a lot of these Web 2.0 type sites. So with like Flickr or Facebook, you might have not noticed this, but the web is becoming a bit decentralized for organizations because we have our main website, but then we have these outpost websites. So we have Flickr, where we put photos. We have YouTube, where we put videos. There's Facebook. We hold conversations with, we've got 2 or 3 Facebook accounts for different parts of our library. So probably about 2,000 people we talk to through Facebook. MySpace, we still have a MySpace account. There's not much happening there. A lot happening in Twitter. So lots of different types of conversations going on in these spaces. Now I'm getting lost. Just a second here. Oh, I should say a lot of these, why we have more than one Facebook account, we also have more than one Twitter account. We have an art gallery as part of our library. So we have a Facebook page for the library. We have a page. We have a Facebook page for the art gallery, and then we also have a Facebook page for our youth services or for our teen services. So that's how we're doing that. Same with Twitter. We have 2 different Twitter accounts. So we have a lot of outposts where we can post updates, events, and chat with people, and that kind of thing. Mention conversations a little bit. We have quite a few different conversations. Conversations going on our website and our blog posts. Conversations going on, let me just a sec here. Let me, I guess, get through this conversation spot, and that would be a really good place to stop and do some questions, all right? I think. So conversations going on in Facebook, conversations going on in Flickr. People are adding comments to the photos there. There are comments going on. This is YouTube. There are comments going on there, but honestly, if you've ever looked at comments in YouTube, they're a bit lame. They're a bit lame on our videos as well. But it does show that people are watching and caring enough to say something there, I guess. And then Twitter. Quite a few conversations going on in Twitter. So replies, retweets, that type of thing. And then we're also doing a lot of listening, I would say, too. Okay, so this is a good place to stop for a second. Questions? Do I need to do anything, or does somebody else do something with the microphone? I'm not sure.
Sorry to interrupt you. I didn't mean to interrupt you. A really quick question I had, and there might be a few people with questions as well. You send people out to the cloud and out to these services. What kind of pushback did you have from administration for doing that, about not keeping it all on site?
Interesting you should ask. I was hired to do that specific thing, actually, to build a digital branch and also to make sure we were represented in those outposts. So I've gotten just the opposite of pushback, quite honestly. But we have a director's been here for almost 5 years now, and she's sort of a transformational change agent herself. So she loves this stuff. So I'm not sure that's a great answer for you, honestly. Okay, somebody's asking, how old do you have to be to comment on our site? No age requirement. You have to be able to type. So whoever can do that can comment on our website or in any of our services, outposts. I guess like Facebook, I think they have an age requirement. Not that any kid actually pays attention to that, but I think somebody has their hand raised.
Yes. Hello? Okay. Yeah, I did have a question for you. I was recently doing some research on Facebook and just library services and sites that have Facebook and all the Twitter and all that. But I was wondering, do you guys have a policy for or standards for all of these additions onto your site?
Am I here? Yeah, okay. Yeah, good question. We do. We have, well, a couple of different things. We have a social media comment policy that applies to, well, mainly our blog posts. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess they wouldn't really apply to our outpost sites so much. But so for patrons, we have a social media comment policy, and then also just our normal behavioral guidelines. They would also translate pretty well to digital form. And then for library staff, yeah, we do. We have, like for Facebook, I will write up a set of instructions or guidelines that say, here's what I want you to do there. You know, a couple of status updates a week, answer questions, listen to what people are saying, you know, that kind of thing. And I'll do that for each of the social media sites. The policies for the web pages are mandatory. Yeah, for our patrons, yes, and they're mainly behavioral guidelines for us. So if we write a blog post and then somebody says a mean comment that's like a personal attack, it's my job to say stop that, and if you don't, we'll block your comments and delete them and that kind of thing. So that's what we do. Okay, maybe one more question, and then I'll get back into the next section. So whoever raised their hand, go ahead and click your mic.
Yeah, hi. I typed my question also, but I was just curious if your library kept usage statistics in terms of these various conversation methods and which are most heavily used by your patrons. Thanks.
Yeah, we don't right now. We keep pretty good statistics on our website, and I have not figured out a really great way to keep statistics on all of those other things yet. There are tools out there that do that, and in the next iteration of our site, we're going to start paying more attention to that. Right now, I spot check them, I guess you'd say. So a few months ago, I checked everything and counted up like how many photos we'd added, how many comments we've gotten in Flickr, how many favorites, and YouTube, how many people watched the videos, that kind of stuff. It was interesting. There was quite a lot of activity going on, quite honestly. And let's see, I guess I'll answer Andrew C's question too. Are the comments moderated on our website? No, they're not. We let them go live when the person clicks send or whatever they send. Not really had a problem with that. We've had a few mean comments, but we look at it this way. If somebody comes up to the reference desk and says something mean, we might, depending on what they say, we might just ignore it, or we might say, you can't really say that to a staff member, so please don't do that. And then our behavioral policy kicks in. It's sort of the same on the web. And that's how we look at it. We don't look at it so much as they're publishing content on our website, but they're having a conversation with us, just in digital format. And so that's how we handle that. Okay, I will move on to the next section. How are we doing some of this stuff? And this is basically how we decided to build what we built for our website and do what we're doing right now. First, we asked. I had meetings with staff. I went to, I think, pretty much every department and asked staff what they wanted to do on our website, and then built that, basically. So it's sort of basic internal marketing. I asked them what they wanted. If they wanted blogs, they want to do Ask Reference Services and Instant Messaging Form, cool. That kind of stuff. I made a list, basically, times a whole bunch of departments, and then I smushed all that info together into a plan. We also met with public. I had a day or two of focus groups that I met with patrons and asked them sort of the same thing, but more, by that time we had something to show them, and we said, so how do you like this? And wrote down what they said, basically. And then we also I'm one of the managers at the library, and so we kept in touch with managers the whole time. I meet with them every week, and so if we had moved along quite a bit, I would show them what we were doing and get feedback and responses from them, so we were building what they wanted to see as well. I also had some secret goals of my own, of course, and I built those. And those were some of those necessities that a modern website should have, like RSS feeds, video, blogs, open comments rather than moderated comments, pictures of librarians who wrote the post and their name underneath it, that type of thing. Basic 2.0 type things. Or worded another way, I knew what was needed to be a cool, relevant website to our community and make it actually slightly on the cutting edge, because for some reason Topeka likes that about their library. So I made sure to incorporate those things. So for example, we wanted to share our stuff in more ways, so I made sure that we had blogs and video blogs and that kind of thing. Obviously, we also needed staff to do this. We're a larger library, I guess, mid-sized to larger, so I have 8 digital services staff in my department, and 2 of those guys do web development full-time. One's more of a web designer and a supervisor, and one's a hardcore web developer, so a lot of coding involved. And then we also have what we call our creative group, and that's the marketing department. Is sort of connected to the web guys. We meet every week and try to do stuff together, so we have them as well to help. And then of course maintaining. What have we done since then? That's interesting. Okay, so that should be a really cool picture of a lawnmower. All right. We have to maintain what we built. So I have been teaching classes on how to write for the web. We've had some classes on how to do video and dump it to YouTube, that kind of thing. We've made little improvements. For example, our Meebo widget, we sort of outgrew that, so we moved to library help, which is another type of widget, but it does more things for instant messaging. We've gone to text messaging as well. Our front page we've made a bit less cluttered, and it's still cluttered, but it was more cluttered. We've redone the CSS on the back end. And a lot of what I have been doing this last year and a half is watching staff work, reading what they're posting, figuring out some things we needed, like a style guide, the social media commenting policy I asked before, that kind of stuff. And then, like I said, we're redesigning right now. And some of the big things we're going to do will be these 5 ways to jumpstart your own extreme makeover. Some things we're focusing on. One would be writing what I call an experience brief. And an experience brief, this is basically a plan for the experience you want to create on your website. So think of it as a one-page story about the experience customers are going to have on your website. So, and I don't have an example of that with me apparently at the moment. Sorry about that. But it's a little one-page story about the guy who lives in Topeka, and he's using our website and finding it easy to use and finding stuff he needs. It's that kind of thing. But it's written in a way to pull out, he's able to, the labels on the website are worded in ways he would understand instead of librarians understanding them. Things he needs are up at the top, like it says get books here instead of library catalog or ILS system or whatever. It's that kind of stuff. I forgot to print that. And then before that part, we're actually targeting specific audiences. Our library has done a GIS study. So we took our patron database data and overlaid county population data on that to find out who our non-users are in Shawnee County. And we found out that 25, our biggest audience, I guess with GIS groups, they give different segments, population segments, names, and so the group we're focusing on is Green Acres. They are middle-aged, married people who live out in the county, have an acre or so of land, pretty well off. They don't like to drive to the library. We have one big building. We serve a pretty large county. So they don't want to drive 20 or 30 minutes to come to the library. There's 25,000 of those people out there that don't have a library card, and we're going to sort of push the website, sort of emphasize things that they might be interested in. So that's what we're going for with this. So that's number 1. Number 2, take a touch point journey around your website. So an example of this would be, let's see, do I have that here? Yeah, basically up to that. We're announcing the library's closing soon. And the speaker's right over my desk, because I'm in my office. Alrighty. A touch point journey is basically doing a task on your website and then noting every point in that journey and sort of seeing how the experience is in each point of that journey. So like, for example, getting a library card. If you wanted to get a library card on my website, where would you go? Just look at that really fast and get an idea in your head. If you haven't gotten it by now, we have failed, and honestly we have with that. It is get an account under My Account, sort of on the left-hand side of the page. It's really hard to see, and it's not worded in a way most customers would understand, unfortunately for us. So what we really need to do with that, and what we'll be doing more, yes, see, so there it is, I'm pointing to it. We're going to relabel it, probably make it big and bright so it pops, so it stands out, call it Get a Library Card, and then put Check My Account underneath that in smaller type. We'll do something like that. And that would be an example of a touch point journey. That was something that wasn't working for people. Okay. Number 3, conversation is experience. I've talked a bit about that. We have conversation going on our website. And our customers, our visitors to our website actually want to talk. They want to talk with librarians, and they want to talk with each other. So we need to make sure we're providing those spaces for them. And that can be in comments, in instant messaging or text messages, in those outposts like Twitter or Facebook, etc. And here's a couple of examples of that. Okay, so this is a blog post one of our children's librarians wrote. And there are comments after that. So a couple by a patron and one by a staff member who's replying to them. And that's showing actual interaction and conversations going on our website. And then another one from Facebook. Our Twitter account is linked to our Facebook account, so we tweeted. The tweet turned into a Facebook status update, and in Facebook we got quite a few comments from that one tweet. So very interesting, and it shows people are responding really well in that social network. And they're responding to the library. They want to friend the library and have conversations with that friend. Okay, number 4, answer the why questions. So look at your website and think, well, why should I use this? Why are we doing this? And answer those types of questions. Even to the level of content, so ask why this content? Why should I read, watch, listen to that when it's created? If you have an event that you're focusing on your website, well, answer the why should I attend that? And my library director always likes to say, answer the why should I care question as well. So for example, what makes me care about those databases? If you look under research, databases A to Z, why do I care about this A to Z database list? Why is it in alphabetical order? That's sort of silly. Honestly, it should probably be in a more most popular order rather than or even a topic order rather than an A to Z list. We shouldn't have done that. Why should I click there? It tells you nothing about why you want to do that. So that would be one thing we should fix on the website. Also, let's see. What was this? Oh, I'm talking about our Ask a Librarian thing. And the arrows are pointing to different places. You can ask a librarian, I believe. So there's a link up at the top that says Ask a Librarian. Down below we have a widget that has that. And we really need to make sure we're pulling those out and making them very apparent to our user. And we want to be really friendly about it. And I think we're achieving that on this website. So under late fee information that says Ask a Librarian, we say, need help? Our friendly librarians are ready to answer your questions. If you think about what we've worded there, that's actually assuming quite a bit. It's assuming we are in fact friendly and we are going to answer your question. So a different way to think about that type of service. And then finally, focus on the customer. It helps sometimes to flip your design from staff-centric to customer-centric. So if you're inviting your customers to talk to you, to ask questions and that type of thing, many librarians and on library websites, they'll give them rules after that. They'll say, please ask a librarian, here's the instant messaging widget, but don't send us big questions. We only answer quick factual questions and we'll do it in 2 business days on the weekends. That's dictating the way your customer can talk to you, and we would never do that at a physical reference desk, so we don't need to be doing that on our websites either. Just say, we'll get back to you as fast as possible, or with instant messaging, you can usually say, we're here, we're not, so it can be an on-off thing. Something to think about. And then just remember to design really simply. I use both PC-based laptops and Apple Macintosh laptops. My Mac has 1 button on it. It's the power button. That's all it has. I'm looking at my Dell PC laptop right now, and it has at least 7. One's obviously a bit simpler and designed better than the other one. That's because Apple designs things to get out of the way, so that design gets out of the way of the customer, so I can then do what I want to do rather than figure out what these other buttons are for. And that's how we should design our websites too. Another way to think about that is thinking about light switches. When I go into my house, I flip the light switch on. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not thinking about how it works or if I'm doing it right. It's just brainless because I know how it works and it does what I need it to do. And in fact, if I had to think about it, the electrician would have failed, right? So that you want your website to be that easy. You want people to be able to quickly do the thing they came to do rather than having to think about how the tool works. Okay, and then one bonus, say yes. Saying yes is key. Some of you are already working in libraries. You've probably heard no before, right? Some of you who aren't, you unfortunately probably will hear no quite a bit once you get a job in a library. Make sure, especially I'm saying this as a manager, make sure to enable rather than to control or direct. So one example of that I've done with our Meebo instant messaging widget, one of our goals was to start an instant messaging reference service, and I and my IT department, we had a different way to do it, and we were working through that process when one of our reference librarians came up and said, David, can't we just embed a Meebo widget and be done with it? We could start in an hour. And I said, yes. I said, sure, let's do that. And then I checked it off my list, and we used that for a good year. It was easy, and my department moved on and thought about other things. So have that type of attitude. Then our attitude was, we got the goal accomplished, rather than having the attitude of, you're not using my tools in the correct way. So something to think about. Let's see, and then I think these slides are talking about that. I'm used to standing in front of people and having a clicker with me, so sorry, this is a little different for me. Okay, so what's next? And this is sort of, I'm summing up here. We've talked about different paths to a digital experience, and what should we do with that? Well, the biggest thing you want to do is connect your customers to a few different things. You want to connect them to your organization, to your product, right? Libraries are all about product because we have books and magazines and movies, etc. Also to the extras. You want to connect the customer to the extras like Facebook or Flickr. They're actually going to get some really good content, especially in Facebook. They'll get reminders of events if you use your Facebook account that way, for example. And you want to connect them to other customers. That can happen in a lot of the social media sites,
Unit 855 from the library will close in 5 minutes. Please complete all printing and copying now. If you have materials to check out, please proceed to the checkout desk. Thank you.
Yep, the library is emptying out. All right, and then here's a weird one. Create an experience stage. Okay, so some guy named Adam Lawrence, he writes this blog called Work Play Experience, and he said this, and realize as I'm reading this, he's a marketing guy, so it's sort of silly, but he's got some good points behind it. He says your customer touch points, your retail location, your hotel, your website, your brochure, are your stage sets. Arrange them to mirror the, he says, boom, boom, wow of your storyboard as people move through the experience or as it unfolds around them. And then he says, you are the actor on a stage. Whether you are a doctor or a plumber or a web designer or a writer or the comment answering guy or the videographer, every part of your customer contact is sort of like performing a show. After all, you're trying to manage the perception that the customer forms of you and your offering. And then he says, so go rehearse. And then I thought, well, what do actors and musicians do besides memorize lines and rehearse that music? Well, they connect. They connect with their audience. And that's our goal as librarians, is connecting with our customers. So we need to work on conversation. That's hard for some of us, especially more traditional librarians. It sounds weird, but we do really well when somebody is in a line at the reference desk. It's a little harder when we're out behind that desk. And it's even harder when we're conversing in new formats, like in Facebook, or 140 characters in Twitter, or in front of a video camera that's going then to YouTube, or even better, being live streamed. So we need to learn the fine art of conversation in many different formats. So writing, photography, video, face-to-face. It's still the same old skill that librarians have done forever, conversation, but presented in a new digital age wrapper. And then finally, organizational change. That's happening everywhere. It's happening in my organization. It's happening in most libraries I visit in some way, shape, or form. So that's coming, and we need to be prepared for that. So these people, your patrons, like going online. If you look at national statistics, most Americans actually do like going online. Even my mom, she does that. She's probably the queen of Farmville. Going online is convenient. It's unfortunately not always easy. So our goal is to improve their bottom line, that of ease of use, and maybe work on delighting them in the process. And they might just come back for more. Yeah, it looks like lots of people play farm games in Facebook. That's funny. All right, so what other questions do we have? There probably were some going through. And yes, I'm in Kansas, so it is 9 o'clock now here, rather than I think it's 7 where you guys are.
Thank you, David, very much. And I'm sure everybody enjoyed the class. Now I'll give the mic to Jimmy. Take it up, Jimmy.
Oh, actually, I wanted to ask Lori to wrap this up and transition to the next section. Do you have anything to say about the presentation now and get us ready for the next part?
David, thank you so much. You were the perfect speaker for the beginning of our class as we think about all these new trends and how they affect the library website, which is becoming more and more important as a place where our patrons are going. So thank you so much. And now we're going to go on to the next part of the the lecture. Jeremy's going to be the master of ceremonies as we go over the outline for the course. And thanks again, David.
Okay, I need to put in some more slides here after this one. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the course schedule. So we are dividing the course up into 3 parts, 3 content areas. We're calling them Seminar 1, 2, and 3. You can see that the seminars are broken up into, well, it's about a third of the course, a third of the time, a third of the 14 weeks. If you take a look at the course itself, let me see if I can do some application sharing here. This is always kind of iffy for a lot of folks, I know. So, it's always iffy for me anyway. Okay, let me ask you all if you can see that. Okay, can anyone not see this window? It's cut off on the right-hand side. How about that? Yeah, you yourselves can take that window and move it around. So the semester is broken up into 3 parts, and you can see the first is Web as a Platform and a Service. And we have these speakers, the 6 speakers, they're spread throughout these 3 seminars.
Excuse me, Java needs your attention.
And this one, David's talk, really applies to the 2.0, the Foundations and Transitions, and also the social web. Then we're moving on. Seminar 2 has content on electronic publishing, on iPhones, YouTube. Lori's doing a lecture on audiobooks. Then Seminar 3 is on the future of libraries. So that's roughly, that's the 3 parts of the course: Web as a Platform, Innovative Collections, and Future of Libraries. Now the lectures, and we have the first lecture up for you. Lori and I filmed that in Boston, Massachusetts earlier in the month. And that will give you a layout. It's pretty similar to what I'm doing right now. Then you can expect 10 lectures total. The next one, a seminar overview with Laura and I. Then 3, we actually did some audio podcasts, about an hour's worth on Second Life. Then I'm going to do a lecture on persuasion and social gaming. He mentioned, David mentioned Farmville, the fastest growing game of all time. Then audiobooks and apps. Somebody else here mentioned apps as well, so we're going to talk about apps, frameworks, and also mashups. So the things to turn in, a collection, and we're going to talk about collections in a bit, your participation for each seminar, so you're graded for each of the 3 seminars on your participation. You have a paper due late March, and a presentation on that paper in May. And notice also, May 12th through May 17th, our presentations, we're going to put out some choices. You guys are going to choose when you want to present. We'll do the best to work with all of your work schedules, because I know you're all working adults and very busy. So guest speakers, we already had David here today. The next one, Meredith Farkas on social networking. Aaron Schmidt, who I had a presentation with in Monterey at Internet Librarian. That was kind of a funny story. Tom Peters, who I met in Chicago at ALA Midwinter a couple of years ago. Joe Murphy, I've never met. Stephen Abram is a fixture, an icon of the field. So that's the schedule itself. Does anybody have any questions about the schedule? And then we'll go on to talk about the collection and the participation and the paper. Just the schedule itself. Does anybody have any questions about that? I'm going to turn off my microphone. If you want to talk, click on the mic, or you can ask questions by chatting. Okay. No. Padmasri asked me if we should stop recording. No way. All this stuff is gold, so it'll be on the recording for everybody to review. When Laura and I are telling you about the class, it's really important to have a record of that. So Scott asks, what are the groups? And there are 3 groups, and you're being added to those groups somewhat randomly. Each group is responsible for 2 things each seminar, sorry. So group number 1 will be responsible for moderating the discussion for seminar 1, and will be responsible for curating the collection for seminar 1. So each of these seminars has a collection. You'll curate those, and each of those seminars have a discussion, and you'll moderate those. So if you're not up for that seminar, say you're in group 2, during seminar 1, you're gathering your collection, you're participating in the conversation in the forums. So you have 2 roles. 1/3 of the time, for one of the seminars, you'll be a leader. For 2 of the seminars, you'll be helping out, participating. Any other questions on the schedule specifically? Okay, now that I have talked about the schedule and a little bit on the groups, let's talk about, and the kind of topics that we'll be covering, let's talk about the collection itself, which I think is really the centerpiece. It's really kind of the most important part of the course. Well, the speakers are great, but the collection for your grade is a big deal. So, Lori, go ahead and take it away. Let's talk about the collections assignment.
Okay, I'll go over the collections assignment. Jeremy and I think this is really exciting because you're going to be creating an actual resource that we'll be using in some online events. Alliance Library System is offering a series of online conferences in 2010 called Trendy Topics. And the first conference is February 9th on social networking for libraries. So it fits right in with what David was talking about. And Meredith Farkas, who wrote Social Software for Libraries, is the keynote speaker. And then we've got other people talking about Twitter, using YouTube, Facebook, all the things that David mentioned. So that's the conference for February. Later this week, I'll be putting up the conference information because you can attend for free, and I'll tell you how to do that. The second conference is in March and is on marketing, and then in April it's on Teams and Technology. May is ebooks and audiobooks, and it goes through November. David Lee King is the last keynote speaker in November. But the collections that you're creating are going to be used as a resource with these conferences. So, and a lot of our speakers are keynotes for these topics. You can see Jeremy Kemp is the keynote for virtual worlds and libraries. So what you'll do with, we'll have 3 groups, and what you will do if you're not the lead group is that each student will turn in, one academic journal article, 1 website, 1 social media site, and 2 additional resources of your choice. And you will provide the citation plus a 1-paragraph annotation. And we're going to be using PBWiki for that. And so what you'll do is you'll just go into PBWiki, and we have a page for the resource section. You'll type in your 5 resources with your name attached to them. Then the group that's the lead for that seminar, for Seminar 1, will have a week to put the resources together in a final format in the PBWiki. So the lead group does not put together resources for that seminar. Their job is to take what the other 2 groups have done and put it together in its final format on PBWiki, which will then be made available to the public. If you didn't get your PBWiki, if you didn't get a link to PBWiki with your sign-in, let me know and I'll re-invite you. I've heard from 1 student, and just email me or even text chat if you didn't get that, and we'll go from there. So, Jeremy, do you want to talk about when you're going to assign the groups?
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that tonight. As long as everyone's logged in, then I'll just I'll put them in the groups.
Okay, so for example, for Seminar 1, the 5 resources for each person are due March 10th. So by March 10th, you need to have your resources listed on the page, and then the leading group has to have the final page done by March 17th. And so with each seminar, that's what we've done is the 2 groups' resources have to be ready 1 week, and then by the end of the next week, the leader group has to have those up in final format on the PBWiki. So we kind of see this as a really practical way for you to be reading and finding resources on these topics. And again, it will be used in support of this series of conferences. So you're creating a real-life digital library for people who are attending these conferences to use. So any questions?
Okay, so the teams have been assigned. I think everybody in here probably will be in a team. So I should probably tell you the first seminar team includes Caitlin, Scott, Angela, Helkin, James, and Tiffany. So that's let's see here, have users. Seminar 1 team, Caitlin, Scott, Angela, Helkin, James, and Tiffany. So, and this all, actually, if you check in Illuminate, right, or Angel right now, you'll see that you're in a team. So those folks have a different set of deadlines than the rest of you. And you can see those deadlines on the collections development page. So, Lori, are you all you pretty wrapped up with the collections assignment? Does anybody have any questions about the collections assignment?
So what do the leaders do for the seminars? Are they just in charge of collecting all of the resources and then organizing it, or is there like an actual discussion that's led like in a forum somewhere?
They're responsible for uploading and organizing the resources on the wiki, and they'll be graded during that seminar. And I think what we're missing now is the lack of a forum where you would link your work. So the PB Wiki's there. You guys have different places in the PB Wiki to build resources. Now we just need a place in the forums to link to. So let me build that.
Vicki, the collections assignment is listed in Angel. Right off of the main page. Also, Chris, the PB Wiki address, you should have received that in your email so that you can then sign in to add resources. If you didn't get that, then let me know and I'll email you again.
So in other words, everybody whose name I didn't call will be adding a collection to PB Wiki and posting a link in the Collection 1 forum. And everybody whose name I did call is going to be curating that content and then a week later submitting a final resource to PB Wiki. Is that the way you see it, Lori?
Yes, and I will put up an example annotation, an example resource listing for you, so you know what we're looking for. I think some students had a question too, Jeremy, about the ongoing participation in the discussion forums.
Right. Let me do some more. Application sharing here real quick. And in the orientation under discussion rubric, I'm looking to do, sorry, Padmasri, I'm looking to do application sharing. Why can I not do that? File transfer.
You're under the participants window, the icon for your application share is turned off.
Oh, it must be because I turned it off. And I need to turn on the mic too. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. If you're participating in a seminar as a leader, you will see this criteria, the number 5. We will grade you based on that criteria. If you are not a leader, if you're participating in the seminar, we'll grade you on these 4 criteria. Okay, so really, it's pretty darn straight. It's a best in class. I didn't do it, but it's very, very helpful for grading participation. Does that answer the question? Lori, did you have an answer for Anne? Is the curating and the discussion questions presented as a group, or are the leaders each doing this individually?
The discussion questions and the curating is different. So the leaders for Seminar 1, they are curating the resources that come in the wiki. That's one part of their duty as leaders of Seminar 1. The other part of their job is to help lead the discussion on the different topics each week. And we've identified the topics for each week. And Jeremy and I will get the discussion started each week with some discussion questions. But then we want the students to take over and lead the discussion in that area.
Yeah, the way I would think of that is that the discussion is really led individually. You don't agree as a group what questions and what comments are going to go on the discussion board, but the final curated piece, that's done as a group.
I think you all will feel comfortable once I put an example up of a resource and its annotation, and once we get through our first week of discussion, I think you'll see how it'll go and feel more comfortable.
Another important part of the class is the paper. And this is sort of Lori's brainchild, so it made a lot of sense to me, but I don't know if I can describe it in detail. Lori, do you want to talk about this?
Sure. This is your chance to do some research, find a topic that you're really interested in, and write a paper about that topic. And the way we have this formatted is almost like a grant proposal. And so in preparing this, you're coming up with a service or an idea that you want to propose to your library. It could be your real library, or you could make up a fictional library. And so this takes you through the format that we'd like you to use. The applying agency, that's the library that you are proposing the service for. And if you don't have a real library you're using, you can make up about the library. And then this should be no longer than a page double-spaced. Then a brief abstract of 100 words. And then the project description you describe what you want to do in detail, but no more than 10 double-spaced pages. A detailed description and the services or activities to be implemented. Justification for the project goals and objectives. And we want you to include each of these areas. And I'm not going to read. You can go through there and see, and it tells you, about how long it should be, or, what the limit of it is. Then we're asking that you use 8 to 10 resources, and that can be articles, interviews, websites, emails, all kinds of things. So it'll be something, a new service or new activity you want to do in a library, and you're putting together a proposal. It might be a proposal for your board. It might be a proposal for a department head. It might be for a grant, but we'd like you to use these headings to do the paper. So we'd also like you to run the topic by us. And by February 16th, we'd like to hear from you what topic you're interested in writing about. Any questions? I hope, Jeremy and I hope that this assignment is something that's practical and that you can use in your real life library or in your portfolio. It can be a information agency.
So Angela is writing to the moderators, and the rest of you might not be able to read that. She wrote, does it have to be a library, or can it be some other information agency? So that's a great question. I thought this was a fascinating assignment from Lori, because basically it's your blueprint to success. I mean, it's your blueprint for the future. You take this document, the things that you create during this term, and you go to somebody who has money in your organization at the county level, the city level, whatever. You build your job. You're writing a job description for yourself, and you're telling people why to help you make that happen. And finally, the final presentation, a short presentation the last week of the term, is your elevator pitch. It's a very short presentation where you're going to describe to the rest of the class why this should happen. That's one option. The other option is a straight paper, but I hope that you guys will do a proposal. I would see this as what David Lee King did when he came to his library, because he's the new media guy, right? He came in, he's got programmers working for him, and he's doing evangelism. This is the kind of document that he would have passed around before he showed up or when he first showed up to make this sort of stuff happen. So I really see this as a great opportunity to spend the time putting together a blueprint for your success. Sounds like a marketing guy, right? But I think it's a great assignment. Does anybody else have any questions about the paper or presentation? Or Lori, do you have anything to say about that? We're going to wrap up in a few minutes here.
If anybody has trouble coming up with ideas, feel free to email Jeremy and I, and bounce some ideas around from the interest that people had. It sounds like I don't think any of you will have trouble coming up with something you'd like to do. But if you do, just email us and we can bounce some ideas back and forth.
Okay, so just some logistics here. If you need help, go to the Help Me forum and subscribe to it so that if anything happens in there, you get an email. The second thing you want to do is go to the orientation page, click on the lecture number 1, and I know some people had some problems with the video. I re-rendered it into something smaller and more manageable, and I also gave you a web URL link. This is Lori and I kind of giddy in Chicago early January. It was very cold outside and we were talking about the class. Then introduce yourself, post a post to the forum, and use an interface. What was one here? I thought this, oh, Scott, did you make this up, Scott? This is really you, right? I mean, I searched IMDb and I found the same thing, so you hadn't altered it. Well, that's cool. And the Star Trek Enterprise episode on Thursday, day after tomorrow night at 7 p.m. is you, right? Oh, that's great. How do we watch for you? Anyway, yeah, that's cool. So post a screenshot. And everybody else go and watch television, see your classmate. The class schedule has a lot of stuff, ton of stuff in it. And go through the topics, look at the lecture, things to turn in. The first collection you can see is due March 10th. So that's probably really the first thing that you need to do. The next time we're going to meet in person, February the 16th, for Meredith Farkas. I've never met her. She's younger than me and much more famous, so I'm very curious to very curious to see her. And then we have the reading list, which I think is a guideline. We're not going to test you on these things, but we found the best of the best content and hope that you can write about these topics in the discussions. So the very first thing, King Chapter 1, and I found some really nice pieces, Tim Berners-Lee talking about, and this is kind of the point of Web 3.0, what is the semantic web? What is the linked web, he calls it. Tim O'Reilly talking about Web 2.0, he's the one that coined the term. Also, Gordon chapters and King chapters. So anyway, we have a ton of resources in here, a lot of really interesting things to talk about, and I think the guest speakers, I think that's it. Lori, do you have anything else you want to add? That's the logistics of the course.
I will add the Trendy Topics conferences dates into Angel, as well as how to register for free. Also, if you attend the conference and you want to write a little bit about it, we will be awarding extra credit for that. So we will put that up later this week too, so be watching for that. The first conference is February 9th, and Meredith is the keynote speaker at that too. So I will get that information out to everybody. I think we have a great group here, and I'm really looking forward to working with you.
I said it was very nice to meet you all, and it was an honor to work with Lori Bell, and I'll see you in less than a month. Hey there. So, thank you very much, Padmashri. I wonder, I mean, now that everybody has all their stuff together, well, I guess we need somebody to work with the speakers and load the slides. Do you think? What do you think, Lori? How should we do it moving forward?
I was away for a minute and just came back. What was the question? I'm sorry.
No, I was just sort of brainstorming. Maybe. Oh, is this still recording? Yes, please. Thanks, Padmashri. So.